hit the rear tire and popped it immediately. I felt heat and heard fire! Cab started filling up with smoke and we're like, fire! He's like, fire, pull over!
Baja will rip you if you step out of line. You need to make sure that you have everything dialed in, that you've gone through the planning, that you've done the hard work. Otherwise, you're not going to make it.
Our goal is to win it. And we have all agreed that we're probably going to have to push it, and push it, even if we push it past what we feel is the limits of the car, we're going to take those chances and try to go for the win.
We all try to come together. We all look for the one purpose that we're here, and that's the W.
For the next 7 days, Chapo Racing will complete their pre-run of this year's San Felipe 250 course, which consists of 280 miles of gnarly whoops, rocky washes, and high-speed sections. After nearly 50 hours scouting fast lines, danger zones, and potentially race-ending obstacles, it's off to tech and contingency, where the car and equipment will be inspected for the safety of the racers themselves as well as their fellow competitors on the course.
Now we're ready to go through contingency and then tech, get the car tech, make sure it's all safe, ready to go. Then we will put the tracker on, and once we get the tracker on, they can see where we're at when we start and when we go.
After months of preparation, hours of pre-running, passing of tech and contingency, the day has finally arrived. Race day.
This race was a little different. We started with Mike York as the driver instead of Chapo, which was the first time for us. So I was a little nervous. Was hoping he could keep us cool with all the stress of starting the race.
Here's number 1870 out of Mesa, Arizona, El Chapo, Justin Ellenberg.
Literally like 30 seconds after the speed zone, we started passing people.
Arrived at Zoo Road where they had kind of graded it, but by the time we got there, it was Whoop City again. He wouldn't move over, maybe he couldn't hear us, he had a pretty loud exhaust. So we actually ended up going into the desert, hitting a bunch of cacti. I got hit with some of it, and finally got around him.
Saw the rock, I'm trying to avoid it. Slid into it, hit the rear tire and popped it immediately. Ernesto popped out. I actually couldn't believe how quickly he did that tire change.
I started to smell something, kind of smelled like burnt plastic or burnt rubber. All of a sudden I asked Mike, I'm like, Mike, do you smell that? He goes, yeah, I do.
Cab started filling up with smoke and we're like, fire! He's like, fire, pull over!
One of our CVs had actually caught fire. When I say our CV caught on fire, I don't mean just the boot. I mean the literal CV and all the grease and everything in it was on fire. It took me a few moments to get that put out. Got back in the car and we continued to the driver's change in limited traction, mainly in two-wheel drive.
We came into the pits, we communicated to the crew what was happening, we had the problem. Car was being jacked up and bam, they were on it.
I felt heat and heard fire! Both Mike and Ernesto were kind of talking to me, hey, stay in the car. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, the car's on fire and you want me to stay in the car. Okay.
The fumes from the gas tank flare up into a pretty good flame. Since this had happened at our last race and I was kind of more or less used to it, I actually held Chapo down in his seat and told him not to get out while I'm looking back at the car on fire.
Got everything fixed, which was an amazing feat for the crew. They really did, again, an awesome job there. And then they were off.
Got in the car. You know, it was smooth. It was a couple conversations about, hey, here's our pace. This is what we're going. Here's what the car can handle. Here's what we're going to drive. And I drove.
We ended up just shadowing the race car all the way up until that point and watched the race car go by. From there, we turned back around and just shadowed the race car all the way back.
30 minutes in, we're just kind of cruising down the whoops, and I look over, and there's first place, pulled over on the course, out of their car. No, there was absolutely no celebration until we got to the road crossing, to the speed zone. We knew that we were going to finish this race in first place. We did it.
It was a really cool feeling to see that race car come around the corner and cross the finish line.
And Chapo, Justin Ellenberg right here.
It was really a unique experience. It was actually kind of hard to believe.
There's just nothing like it in the world I've ever experienced. It was so awesome.
5 years of driving to Baja and aiming for one of these first place wins. To finally get it was just an amazing feeling.
We can fix that. We got zip ties.
10:30 at night at our hotel.
Can I stand on that over there? No? You're good?
I want to thank a lot of people for helping this come true. Big shout out to Canam for helping us out. Lone Star for keeping us safe. Shock Therapy for making those whoops not even feel like they're there. Although, you know, you feel it a little bit. Big shout out to Rugged Radios for keeping us communicating. Shout out to BFG Tires, to Method Race Wheels, Factory UTV for making sure, you know, they protect the bottom end of our car. Big shout out to Evolution Motorsports, XPS Oils, Adrenaline Motorsports for always being there when we need parts. Huge shout out to the families and the wives. Also, I want to thank the Chapo Racing team. You know, the guys that help do this, you know, this is for you guys as well. Thank you so much. I want to thank two #1 mechanics, Jason and Danny. Also a big shout out to Tag Auto, Ernesto Taylor, for really prepping, getting this car done, and even though we give you hell for being late to everything, thank you for getting us there and getting us this win. And the owner behind Videographer, who also helped us win this race, Michael York, driver #2, and Parker, the video guy, for shooting this video.